from the one above. When they speak, you can feel what's true, 'cause they've lived it all, and they'll walk with you. Jackie and Gail, just love, just real. Two voices of grace that help you heal.
Hey, 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 welcome back. Welcome back to Raw, Restoring Awesome Warriors. I'm your host, Jackie H., and I have here my co-host, Gail Barron, the judge. How you doing today?
I'm well. I'm well.
You done start off laughing already, so I know this going to be one of these shows that you laughing at me the whole entire time, but you had a good day today. The weather was nice.
Yes.
Sun is shining bright. Yeah. So what you do today?
Just work.
Just work? Okay. You really went to work?
Yeah, I did work today.
Okay. She usually be at work, and then I don't know what the word process. Maybe her boss need to come sit with her a little bit. But anyway, we're glad to be back. We have a special
Yes.
show today.
Yes.
We have a special day. Um, one of my late husband best friends, one of the guys we know ever since we was growing up with the juniors and around North Philly, 6th Street. Aunt Mary and them lived down the street. And they lived up the street. But in case, let's see, I don't know. Maybe if they see the picture, they know who we're gonna have as our guest today. We have Pastor John Cooper. Funny, serious, one of the nicest person I have ever met. And we got the pleasure of talking to him today. So we're gonna bring um, John on, but I got to find out about this nickname they used to call him Boonta. I got to see what that meant. But anyway, John, we want to welcome you. Um,
Thank
welcome
you.
you to Raw,
Thank you. I'm glad.
Restoring Awesome Boy.
So we going formal with the titles
I,
or
I, I'm going to ask him, is it okay for me to call you John?
Yeah,
Because
call me John.
we know you're pastor.
Yeah.
We reverence and we respect
No,
that.
you can call me John.
Yeah. But I'm going to take the title off because if we're going to go, we got to, go from little John all the way up to the pastor. All right.
Now, even at work, when I first started in the position I'm in now as a chaplain,
Uh-huh.
they wanted to know what to call me. And most people, I told them, you can call me John. Some people don't feel comfortable calling me
Yeah.
that, but most people call me John. But now they just call me Chap. Most of the people
Chap,
they call me
Chappy.
Chap.
Okay. Well, Gil, I remember being in Elverson. That was our elementary school. And Mommy used to work at Hartran. And she told us to come one day to a concert the kids was going to have in the gym. I'm like, they had a concert at the gym? And when we got there, it was the William Brothers Juniors. That's how long ago.
That was one of the, out of all the places we sang at, all the stages that we sang on with major groups, that was the best concert that I think we've ever done. And the reason why, because every last member of the William Brothers Jr. went.
That was so. I mean, we had a ball, and she told us to come. I don't know if you remember that, but that's how I met you all.
Mhm.
I never knew. I mean, I knew y'all lived up the street from my cousins and stuff, but that's the first time I met the group, and we've been friends ever since then. Kevin, you at the time, I don't know who all the gentlemen was in it, but I remember you and Kevin.
Yeah.
Um, tell us a little bit about coming up on 6th Street. Your child. Let me do the range from. Let's do 10 to 16. What was it like being John Cooper, the teenager?
I had good friends. And my friends were the William Brothers Jr. Um, First one I met was Trustee Eugene Williams. Uh, when I was a kid, my mother bought me a guitar, and I had this guitar, and I'm running up and down the street with it. And Eugene Williams called me over. He said, "Come here." He said, "You don't hold a guitar." And he went in the house, and he had this big body guitar. It was a Bradley. I'll never forget that guitar. And he came outside and he sat on the step with his guitar and he showed me an E chord. And he said, learn that and then come back and show it to me. I took my guitar home and kept trying to put my fingers like this. About a week, I got it. I went up there and knocked on the door. And he came out and I showed it to him. And then he showed me an A chord.
Wow.
Then after that, he showed me a B chord and showed me how those 3 chords you could play any song, turn it around. And uh, the original Williams Brothers, we weren't the Williams Brothers Jr. Our original name was, we wanted to be called the Singing Stars. And that was Joey Olison, Raymond Olison, Darrell Olison, Ephraim Hicks, and myself. We were the 5 original members. And the Williams Brothers would be practicing on the first floor, and we would be down in the basement singing and mocking. So
Okay.
one day, the Williams Brothers were singing. I still remember the church down on, I think it's like 7th and Thompson, the little storefront church there in the corner. And the Williams Brothers were singing on this program, and they didn't have no one else to sing. And we're sitting there in the audience. And Mother Ella Ray Williams, which was June Williams' mother, she said, now we're going to hear from the Williams Brothers Jr. We looking at each other, who that? And they told us, y'all get up there and sing, get up there and sing. And that's where that name came from. But we wanted,
we was the Singing Stars.
yeah, we wanted to be called the Singing Stars. That's what we named ourselves, the Singing Stars.
Wow.
So in the beginning, at first, Miss Gloria Olison, which was Raymond, Joey, and Darrell's mother, she would try to organize us to sing because we would sing all the time in church. So she tried to give us voices and give us songs. And then later on, Bishop Irvin Hicks tried to teach us songs and managers. And then by the time then, we started getting little programs here and there. And that's where Eugene Williams came along and he said, no, y'all gonna have to learn notes, vocals. Then that's when he took it. And he managed the Williams Brothers Jr. And on his deathbed, he called each one of us. That we went down to the hospital, and one of the last things he said, there will be no more Williams Brothers Juniors and Seniors, just the Williams Brothers. And that's how we are today.
Oh, so it's one group today.
Just one group, just the Williams Brothers.
Wow. Okay.
So we don't even, we're trying to get away from people referring to them as the Williams Brothers Seniors
Okay.
and just the Williams Brothers from Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
And this November, we'll be celebrating our 98th anniversary.
Oh.
98 years, 3 generations. And it actually might be more years than that, but that's how many years we have. And the Williams, I've been around them going on this year, 46, 47 years. So I started with the juniors when I was about 9.
Wow. A very nice family. I've had the pleasure of meeting all of them, and it's always been the same with Mr. Eugene, Mr. Morgan, and knowing you all. Bill, do you remember the time that they went with us up to Westchester on the bus? John, y'all cut up so much on the bus. I think my brother didn't know where we were going to a comedy show or we was going to a concert. It was you, Marcus. I guess you have changed hands and taken one song with you at a time, but that was, those are 2 highlights I have the Williams Brothers Juniors at that time, because I didn't really know you all, but being with you all on those 2 turns, but y'all turned that bus out.
With the Williams Brothers Jr., we grew up where we used to bus on each other.
Oh,
So we
man.
talked, and one of the things we did, say like if we were going down south in the van, you're in the van for hours, and we were teenagers, so you had to find something to do. So we would make up songs about each other. We would bust on each other, and nobody was safe. They talked about, matter of fact, they used to call me Bert from Sesame Street because they said I had a long hair. So
Oh, my God.
they used to call me Bert. But we made up songs about it. We had people that left our group because they couldn't take being busted.
Oh,
Because
wow.
they talk about you, your cat, your dog, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother.
I didn't know that, but I remember that trip going up there to Westchester, and it was brutal.
Yeah,
It was
we
like,
laugh we laugh and joke. Now we can talk about each other, but don't let nobody.
oh, so that was your fun?
That was our fun. We bust on each other, and yeah, Trustee Williams had a sense of humor, and he would say anything about us, and he would say it in such a sly way. You didn't know he was busting. And
Wow.
we would be on the road. We had this thing that we used to do with new people in our group. They wait till you go to sleep, and they would put either mayonnaise or shaving cream on. And so when we would go on the road, Uncle June knew that we did this, and he used to tell us, "If you're sleeping in my room, we had to share rooms. When I lock my door is locked, and nobody's coming in and out this room. And if you let somebody in this room, you're gonna have a problem." So we had ways of hazing people.
Oh, wow.
Reggie Cozy, his first trip with us, he went to South Carolina somewhere, and Reggie went to sleep in the chair, and we beat Reggie with wet towels while he was sleeping. So a lot of people back in those days, we thought it was fun. We had a lot of fun on the road. Um, we always kept a basketball in the van because we would ask Uncle June to pull over, and he would pull over here and there. Out of the William Brothers Junior, I'm 6 feet and I'm the shortest. I'm the
Wow.
shortest.
Wow.
So we always played basketball.
Good, that's wonderful.
Um, we would have rehearsal every Friday night, and sometimes we would get in trouble because after rehearsal, Butter would take us to play basketball. We'll be out there on the basketball court till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and Aunt Matt would be on 6th Street waiting for Ethan to get back so they could go home, but we're somewhere playing basketball.
So what was that age? Like teenagers?
During that time, they were teenagers. I was in my early 20s,
Okay.
or it might have been my late teens or early 20s.
So you had the kids out on the basketball court at 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
playing
yeah, we would be out there playing basketball, but Butter would let us do it.
basketball.
And Butter would we could get Butter to do anything. We get out of
Yeah.
rehearsal, Butter, take us down South Street.
Yeah.
And Butter would take us down South Street. Butter, take us to the basketball court. Or Butter, take us down Chinatown. And Butter would take us down.
He loved the William Brothers, and
Mhm.
he loved the William Brothers Jr. He
Yeah.
would talk that when I met him, it was y'all was his family.
Yeah,
It was
always been family. And it's funny, Butter. I used to go to Butter. Butter used to on Saturdays would pick me up in the morning before he go to work. This is when he was working at Cotman Transmission over on Huntington Park. And I remember one time Butter sent me to go pick up parts in the customer's car. And I'm on Huntington Park, and this guy see me driving his car,
Oh, Jesus.
and he's screaming and hollering, and he's chasing me. And I'm racing down Huntington Park trying to get the car back. I didn't know who the guy was. And I pull up in the lot and put the car in park and run in the garage. And Butter told him, oh, he was test driving it. But I was going to go get parts.
Wow. He did a lot of things. He did a lot of things. It's scary. It was very scary, but he believed in y'all. Let me ask you, was you raised in church? Like with this sense of humor y'all have, pranking people all the time. Did that start in church? Because usually people who didn't have a life, they start just pranking stuff
No,
and joking.
we just like joking and doing stuff. But I would always like church.
I'm talking about strict church. Was you raised
Yeah.
up in holiness?
Yeah, because my family on my mother's side are all members of Rehoboth Temple Church of God in Christ. My mother that's the only church my mother ever been a member of. She's still a member. And that was a strict, I didn't know it was holiness. I thought all churches were Baptist when I was a kid until I learned the difference. I guess I was like 12 when I learned the difference. I thought that was just a Baptist church, but it's a Church of God in Christ. Rehoboth Temple Church of God in Christ was the church that I was primarily raised up in.
Now, why I asked you about that? When I say holiness, like, did you have a TV?
Oh yeah, we had TV.
Oh, so then y'all wasn't holy.
Yeah.
We're not talking about that strict.
We wasn't that strict holiness.
Okay.
We wasn't that strict holiness.
Okay. All right.
And then, like I said, we grew up down the street from your family.
Right.
And I would always see them on a day of worship. They were all in white. And it was funny when your family my mother went down and talked to your aunt. And when my mother first started working, your aunt used to take us to school every day. Me and my younger sister, we used to have to walk down the street with Barbara and them. And then your aunt and them had that van.
Yeah,
And they'll put all us in the van. And we're like, Mom, the school right around the corner. But we had to go down the street with them, and then your aunt would take us to school.
And the school was around the corner.
School around the corner. And then I guess about a year or so later, my mother would allow us to walk to school by ourselves.
It was a community in a neighborhood back then.
Yeah,
so they
because
were-
I said this the other day. We lived at 6 of Huntington,
Mhm.
and from Lehigh Avenue to Huntington, everybody on that block could correct
yes,
you. But you didn't want nobody on that block to correct you, because if someone on that block had to correct you and your
Yeah,
parents
buddy.
found out about it, that was a whole nother beating.
Yeah,
Now I did get beatings over the Williams family house. So if I did something over the Williams family house, I have got
they could beat you,
I got popped over there.
and then you go home and get another
I
one.
never told them when I got home. But one time,
okay.
the Williams Brothers Jr., we wanted a drum set. And we in the basement, and we took Nana's trash can and we cut it in half.
Oh, man.
And we nailed some coffee can. That's what coffee cans were metal. We nailed these cans all around that drum, around that trash can. Trash can was the bass drum. Miss Williams came home and was looking for that trash can, and we couldn't find it. So all of us got popped for that. Then another time, we were in church down St. John, down the old St. John, and Nana would give all us a quarter to go put in the offering plate. So we would take our quarter and put it between our fingers like this, and because the offering plate was metal, when we march around, we would go tap it, but the quarter would be still between our fingers, and we would keep walking.
Okay, all right. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now y'all playing with the offer. John, really, who came up with all? Who was the jokes in the family?
I think it was. I think with the Williams Brothers Jr. it could have been any of them.
Oh God.
But we go up there and we tap our quarter on the plate and then keep walking. And I don't know who it was. One of us hit their quarter on the plate and it bounced, hit the floor. And he said, all the rest of them got their quarter,
Down y'all out.
and they made us walk all the way back around again and put our money.
Would you like some water?
No, but we were going to use those quarters after church. So will a man rob God during that time? We were trying to.
So somebody actually domed you out because they quarter
Cause
drunk.
their quarter died. Right.
Well, you don't think they got us beat? I
Yeah.
thought we did
Yeah.
stuff, but this is just a prank the whole group.
Yeah, we played a lot of jokes on people like but and sometime after Williams Brothers Jr., we got into fights with each other.
real fights or just playing.
No, real fights. We would fight each other, but nobody else better not try to fight. One time, I don't know if I should tell this story. One time we were in Murfreesboro, North Carolina, and got to fight in the dressing room because we kept picking with each other. I mean, got to fight in the dressing room. And went out there and sang like it wasn't nothing to it. And afterwards, Uncle June found out about it. And he said, if I'd have known that, I would have gone. But we got to fighting each other and arguing. I think that because we used to do stuff like I said, we used to do the mayonnaise stuff. So if somebody did something to you, you had to up it. So Ephraim used to have a habit of, he would get fully dressed, but leave his shoes by the door of the dressing room so he could step in the shoes on the way. So I think one of them put, the night before, they put ice in my shoes. So Ephraim's shoes, they put ice and crackers. I don't know why the crackers, but they put ice and crackers in my shoes. So the next day we go to sing, Ephraim has his shoes by the dressing room. And I filled up Ephraim's shoes with shaving cream. So they out there, the service going on, they said, all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Williams Brothers Jr. And Ephraim stepped in those shoes and shaving cream came off. So he don't have time to do nothing. So he just take a rag and wipe them. And we out there on the floor and see the shaving cream all around in front of those shoes.
So how? Wait. Okay. So how did you sing? I
Without
would've been
laughing?
Without laughing. Like, come on, that would have been.
We laughed a lot of times about things while we were singing. And sometimes,
People just thought y'all was happy. They didn't know what you were laughing at.
yeah, we laugh at each other. Somebody mess up a verse, or
I know, but you got shaving cream coming out of my shoe. Come on, like
yeah,
I don't even know how you stood up there and
yeah,
with a straight face.
it
Oh, wow.
was a funny time, and I think the funniest time with a young man that used to sing with, and we were in Virginia, and he dyed the whole front of his hair, and he had a do rag on. We in Virginia, and we all in this place where we sang at Virginia. They had like a room. They had all this food for us, and we back there just eating. And they would come back in that room. They'd be like, "Y'all got 40 minutes." I'll come back later. "Y'all got 20 minutes." Come back later. "Y'all got 10 minutes." They come back later. "Y'all get ready. Y'all on." And when they say get ready, y'all on, this young man took the do rag on, had his whole hairline dyed, and Uncle June and Pastor Squire was in that dressing room, cracking up, could not stop laughing. And we laughing about it. So we got out on the floor, on the stage, and it was hot. And we got to like our third song, and this young man was new to the group. And we turned and look at him, and the dye from his hairline was almost touching his eyebrow.
Oh,
And
man.
Eugene Williams was playing the bass. June looked at him, he's playing the bass. June started laughing so hard, unplugged his bass and walked off the stage in the middle of the
Oh man. Yeah, I can't. My dad would have beat us.
Well, we were grown by then. I was singing with the seniors then. I was
So they was pranksters too. I mean, they laughed at stuff too.
yeah.
Oh,
They did stuff, and
okay.
to this day, even at rehearsal, we still rehearse every Wednesday. At this day, to this day, we still laugh and pick on each other at rehearsal. Even the older William brothers
Okay.
are funny. They can say something to you, and we like to have fun. So and the newer people that come in the group, most of the time they become the butts of the group.
So when did you know that you was pastor? That you was going to be?
I've always, from a little kid, my aunt taught me one of my first scriptures. When I was a kid, I would see things but couldn't understand. And that's when I started learning about different older people being around and about prophecy. And then they always said that I was an old man as a kid. So I never forget when even in the fourth grade at Hartram, there was a girl named Nicole, and her nickname for me was Grandpa Cooper, and I was an old man. So I always carried I would act or carry myself. And as a kid, I was always inspired by my mother's bishop. He just passed, the late Bishop George A. Williams. I would sit and watch Bishop Williams on Sunday. Bishop Williams, when I was a kid, boy, that was a preaching hooping machine. And Bishop Williams was the first pastor I ever saw wear a beretta. That's the hat that a bishop wear with a ball. So I would go home and get my ski cap with the ball on top and put it on and break it down like a beretta so I could look like Bishop. And my sisters and them and my cousins still talk about it. We played church every week. And every week, we would come home. I would wrap a sheet around me, and I was always the pastor, me and my cousin Larry. And my sister used, I can't think of the song right now. My sister that just passed, every time she would see that song, because it was always a song, "Oh, we come this far by faith." They always had to march in on "We come this far by faith." And they would march in the same way we saw them marching when we were kids.
This is in the basement.
No, this was in the living room.
Oh.
Because they had to stand up on the steps behind me as the choir, and then I stood on the landing and I would preach.
Oh,
And that's where it started. Then when I started singing with the Williams Brothers Jr., I was always the front man. I was the one who did the talking or the build up for the song. Um, and then years later, I never forget, we were singing down St. John one day for Joy Night. And it was a Saturday night. And I used to sing this song that used to be by the Loving Brothers out of Amityville, New York, called Hold On, Help Is On the Way. Mother Kelly used to sing. Call her Mother Kelly. And I was singing that song, and the Holy Spirit got a hold of me, and I couldn't stop crying. I'm just running around the church. And that's the first time I felt the power of the Holy Spirit. And I was probably 20 or 21. So when I went to, I was in, I've only been a member of, that I've joined 3 churches in my whole life. As a kid, I went to Mansion of Prayer, Elder Thomas. That was an apostolic church. And that's when I was first introduced to the apostolic doctrine. By the time I turned that, so that I was probably around 12, 13 by then. By the time I turned 16, I started going to St. John Apostolic Church on Germantown Avenue. That was under the late Mother Eleanor Holmes and Bishop Holmes. And I stayed there even after Mother Holmes died, after Georgiana Brown became the pastor. I stayed there for years. And then I got to a point and I went to Pastor Brown and I said, I think I'm going to go over to Bishop Scrivens. And let's back up. I was dating someone from Bishop Scrivens Church, but I always thought that Bishop was mean. So if I went to church, I saw a bishop coming one way when the service was over, I'd shoot out the other way. But then I got married, and we were going to 2 separate churches. And I went to my pastor, and I was the musician there for service and for both choirs. And I remember going to my pastor, Pastor Brown. I said, Pastor Brown, I think I want to go over there to Bishop Scrivens. And Pastor Brown said, I've shown you all I can show. And she released me to go. And I went over there and started playing guitar there, ministry of music. And I stayed there with Bishop Scrivens. And I've been in General Assembly now, I think 29.
Now, was that on Broad Street?
That was on Broad
Oh,
Street.
Broad Street. Okay.
So I started off there as playing the guitar. And over the time, I basically became Bishop's right hand. And people used to tell me, oh, you just this flunky. Because if Bishop had to go down south, I would drive him. If Bishop car had to go get his oil changed, I would take it. But those were the times when Bishop really poured into me. As a leader, you pour during service, but it's those private times when you're with your leader that they can pour into you one-on-one, and they could talk to you about stuff that they're not going to say in service. Because I found out there's some things that they're biblically truth and correct, but Bishop's not going to, it's something that he's not going to say across the pulpit.
Okay.
So during those times when him and I were driving down south or going places, he would talk to me. And I never forget, I was fresh in the ministry and I was working, and there was a Spanish guy, Jose. He had 2 sons that worked there. And Jose had a church for sale. And Jose told me, I'll sell you this church. And I wasn't thinking about that. So I went to my bishop. I said, Bishop, this man want to sell this church. Our church is still on Broad Street. And Bishop and I went to go look at that church. It's a big church up on Lawrence and Erie Avenue. And we went to go look at the church. And Jose said, I didn't say I would sell it to him. I said, I'll sell it to you. I said, I'm not a pastor. So my bishop came to me. He said, John, he said, you have a real big family. He said, and if you want that church, I'll get that building. said, Bishop, I'm not a pastor. My job is to stick with you, learn all I can. So the person who was the elder in our, a few weeks after Bishop and I had that conversation, he came to Bishop and said, Bishop, I found me a church. Bishop told him that's not what the Lord said concerning you. But if you say that's what the Lord said, he said, I'm not going to get in between you and God. He said, I'm going to release you. I never forget, we drove up to Norristown to look at this building that this young man found. The Bishop walked in there. He said, you going to turn this into a church? Bishop went in there. He said, John, go get my briefcase. I drove Bishop up there. When he got Bishop's briefcase, and Bishop sat there and wrote a check. We got in the car. I said, Bishop, if you don't believe he was called the pastor, why you give him a check? He said, because sometimes as a father and a leader, to teach your kids a lesson.
Wow.
So then after that, I remember I told Bishop, no, my job is to stay and learn. So then after that, some years later, I went with a friend of mine to a church in Maryland and met this wonderful preacher, Bishop Page. We would go down there, and one day Bishop Page asked this young man's pastor, we to go down there, I had to go down there with Bishop, that he wanted to talk to me. And Bishop Page asked me to be his youth. He had a huge church down. And I was newly married. I was married for a while then, but he said, Bishop Page said, if you come, we'll get you a salary. We have a home for you. And you run my youth. And I told Bishop Page, thank you, but my assignment is the Bishop's Scribbins. Months went by. Bishop Page kept calling me, offered more money. I told Bishop Page my assignment, Bishop's Scribbins. One Sunday, Bishop Page drove up to Philadelphia. He wanted to see why I'm not leaving. He walked into our church on Broad Street, and he said, I got more deacons than y'all got members. You won't leave. And he asked me why. I said, because my assignment is to Bishop Scribbins. And I believed in that because the way Bishop Scribbins poured into me and mentored me, part of my shaping and development, even when one of the big lessons that Bishop Scribbins taught me, even when he knew I wasn't right, he still stood by me and mentored me, fathered me, didn't throw me away because of what other people were saying, and even because sometimes, even due to some things that I was doing. And even some of our members that were there. By the time then, he made me co-pastor.
Okay.
So I was co-pastor. And after a few years, he had a fellowship, apostolic fellowship. He would let me, I ran the conventions. I would book the preachers, took care of everything concerning the fellowship, and he let me do that, and he trusted me everything. I had the church bank book. I had my own personal church credit card. So if I say I wanted to upgrade the PA system, put it on your card. But other people that came before me, he never gave them that. And I never forget, before he died, he called me up to the hospital and said, son, this is it. He said, they got me on that morphine. This is stuff to take you out of here. And I said, no, Bishop, you ain't going nowhere to get it. So he said, I'm going to dissolve the church board while I'm here in the hospital. And he said, you get your own board. So you don't have to keep the board I had. That was my board. If you're going to take over the church, you pick out of the people that you want your board. And that's what he allowed me to do. But even before that, he wanted to make me pastor. He'd be the bishop. But I felt that he should be the pastor, and that I would take it over after he expired. So when he died, before he died, I was a minister for years, and I didn't want to become elder. I never wanted the title. I was minister. So every year after 3 years of being a minister, convocation come up. You got to be an elder. Every year I would say, Bishop, let's wait till next year. Convocation come up. Going before the board to become an elder. I said, Bishop, let's wait till next year. Finally, when he knew that he had cancer and cancer was aggressive, he came to me and said, you have no choice. He said, for the ministry's sake, you have to go before the board and become an elder. So that year I went before the board in October and they made me an elder. And then in the next year, March, he was really sick. And he came back and he said, I'm going to bring a board back together. He said, I'm going to make you a presiding elder so that if something happened to me, you can run the church and preside over the fellowship. And that was hard because we had bishops in the fellowship. Some of these bishops watched me grow up in the church. And then
So it's something he saw in you? Or?
I guess he did.
Yeah.
And I was faithful to him. We didn't always agree.
Okay.
Him and I didn't. I remember one time I got mad at Bishop and I didn't come to church for about 3 weeks.
Oh.
And he called me and said, you ain't got to come back to church, but one thing you got to do is bring me my keys. So we were able to work it out. And then going to go tell Bishop I was called to preach. I went to Bishop one day and said, Bishop, I was called to preach. He was sitting in his office eating in between services. He said, yeah, that's nice. Go downstairs and start praising for this shit. He's a tough man. So I waited a couple of months. I went back up there again. Bishop, I was called to preach. He said, yeah, come on in. And he questioned me. When was you called? How was you called? Had me so confused, I walked out. So then months and months went by. And we had the Apostolic Fellowship came to our church. He called me. Bishop and I'm up in the office. Bishop wants to see you. I was running upstairs and said, oh, this is it. Bishop's Little, Bishop Small, Bishop Cosby, Bishop Milburn. I forget all the bishops. They all sitting in Bishop's office table. And I walk in and Bishop says, shut the door. Sit down. And them old bishops had ran me with so many questions. And when they got done, Bishop said, now go downstairs and start service. Never said. And it was months later, I never forget, it was the middle of December. The Bishop stood up in the pulpit and said, John going to preach watch night. One of the elders said, watch night? How he get to preach watch night? You the only one preach. John. So he said, if that is trial sermon? No. Trial is for somebody that's guilty. So
Wow.
that watch night was 1999. And I preached from the same scripture. I just preached this last Sunday, Ecclesiastes 3. And back then, the message was, do you know what time? I preached that this past Sunday at Christ Temple, and the message was, it's about that time. And I realized between knowing what time it is and it's about that time, I wasted a life. People, places, things.
So you, John. So you said this church that you started to preach at, that's where your wife went.
My first wife.
So you was at another church and she was.
Yeah.
Because you thought the pastor was mean.
Yeah, we went to two separate churches.
I mean, that's why you went to two separate churches because you thought the guy was mean.
No, because I was in my church. I was in St. John for so long.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't want to leave my church. I
You didn't
didn't
wanna
want to ask her to leave hers.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so that's why we went to two separate churches.
Okay.
And it's funny because our church is Pentecostal church. Bishop Scrivens went to my pastor and said, your son is running with my daughter. What they going to do? And I said, all right, we get married. But what I should have did was stop running.
Oh,
No, because the old church, like they'll say, in the old church, if they caught you shacking, you had
Yeah.
to get married.
Yeah.
But the thing
so
is,
that's why you got married?
yeah, but I'll never do that again. Listen,
Oh,
just
okay.
stop shacking. So I wish I'd have just did that then. And to me as a pastor, like I've seen people have to get forced married because they got pregnant. I would never tell nobody to get married because you're pregnant. I would get married because you love this person and you can see building with this person. But pregnancy isn't a reason to get married. And I know the church did it out of they thought that was the right thing to do. I don't think that's the right thing. The right thing to do is stop sinning.
Well, my story with your friend was the same thing. We lived 2 doors from the church,
Mhm.
and our brother at the time and my sister, they were starting a church at my mother's house.
Mhm.
And we lived 2 doors up. I lived there first,
Okay.
okay? And they started the church second.
Oh yeah.
But because that looked bad to the church,
Yeah.
so that's what I had said to Mr. Butter. We was friends and everything. That's a whole long story that we can
Right.
talk about how we got hooked up. But I was willing to go back to my mom.
Mhm.
But he said, since we've been together this long, we might as well go ahead and do it. So I understand that thing of different reason why people get married. Sometimes it's not even you're not even ready, or it's not
Right.
thing, and it's because of situation. And sometimes you can make out okay, and then sometimes it can be hell on wheels,
But
right?
that I think even if you're in a situation, working it out is a process. And sometimes getting married, if it ain't in God's plan, ain't gonna fix the process. Or you're rushing the process. So we get married for the wrong. I've been married twice. I look at marriage and relationship different now. And even like I believe for me, um, after my divorce, my first divorce, I stayed in situations longer because I was embarrassed to be breaking up with somebody. People judge you, especially if you're in ministry. I have at the thing we did here, I had a lady tell me, "Oh, you've been married twice. Something wrong with you."
When you did the thing for the men board.
Yeah, the
Yes.
lady said to me, "You've been married twice. Something wrong with you."
Oh, wow.
And I asked her, "Well, at least somebody considered me twice. How many times you been married?" She said, "I haven't."
Wow.
But it's I realized that marriage is work, and the Bible's we get it mixed up because for a woman, her big thing is the wedding day, white dress. Now let's back up. Her dress new. His tuxedo rented. Somebody else wore that before. So the wedding, the day, the ceremony is all about her. It's all about. But we marry. Some people marry for that day, but they're not prepared for what happened after that day. Because after that day, you got to pay bills. After that day, somebody got to make up the bed. Somebody got to sweep the floor. We don't discuss these things beforehand.
And let me ask you, why not?
Uh,
Why? Okay, so some people say they go to marriage counseling, right? I've been to one, not that I didn't have no counseling, but I've been to someone else's, and it was a Bible study.
Mhm.
I'm
But,
trying to see what the Bible study had to do with your life.
but
Like
the
what?
marriage counseling is only good if you could be open and honest during that time. And then
Yeah, but if you're bringing me to a Bible class, that's not how I'm going to be open to you preaching to me for my marriage counseling.
yeah, it should that to me that should be something that's one on one.
Well, you should do what Medea said.
Huh?
Medea.
I did say, well, on the girls get married. Why did you bring the Bible? That's not a wedding gift.
Right.
You know, they supposed to brought the gift, and then she brought the Bible.
Mhm.
I think it's a little mixed up of 6 months of counseling. I don't need a Bible study. That's part of it.
Right.
But you need to tell me what I'm getting ready to go on. Like, it got to be something
When,
else more than
when I
that.
do marital counseling,
Oh, you do counseling?
I do it one on one with the couple. Some day, and I do it. Some days I talk to. This sometime when I've done it, I've talked to them, and I always talk to them individually. Then I'll talk to them together.
Oh,
Because in counseling, you have to be honest with yourself, and that's the biggest problem. If you're not honest with yourself, because a lot of times we hold back stuff or we put up with stuff until after we get into marriage, and then once you say I do, oh, I don't like that,
you saw it before you
but
got
you
married.
saw it before you got it, and it's bad when somebody look at why you got to breathe like that. You want me to stop breathing and die?
Why you chewing so
Yeah, why you
hard?
chewing so? So when those little things start bothering you, because those things were there and they were never dealt with. So I'm learning to have those open and honest conversations earlier and say what I like and don't like. Because if you don't like it today, I don't care how good they look, you ain't gonna like it 10 years from
So I always thought about this. Like, okay, so I think it's more for the women. We get dressed up, we get dialed down, you know, go on a date, whatever. That's not who the person is marrying. There's nothing wrong with it.
now.
But
Right?
I'm saying some days you need to let him see you down.
Yeah, I want to see you with your bonnet on and see how you look in the morning because I
Yeah,
might not be able to take you in
yeah.
the
So
morning.
it's like a whole lot of things that if I was counseling someone, it would be a whole different counseling session because that's not who you're marrying.
Well, we put on. I'm going to tell you this. Um, when you first meet somebody, you're both actors.
Yeah.
And you're putting on what you want them to see.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of things that, like I said, you got to have open and honest conversations about who you are, what you want in life. Because someone might like you, but where you're headed in life, they don't want that. I know somebody that right now they married someone in ministry. They love the person, but I don't want ministry.
Yeah.
So that's their wedge. And
Remember
then
he
to,
told us one time he liked to see people shout.
yeah,
If they had a cute shout.
yeah,
And, you know, I mean, you'd be surprised what people get involved or married
Right.
for. It's if you don't have the honest conversation, you just
Right.
won't know. But I remember that when you said like,
yeah. Because
that she had a
when
cute shout.
you grow up in church
Yeah, this,
we used to compare the women and went, "Ooh, she got a cute shout. Ooh,
Yeah.
I love the way such and such tap," because that's what you saw in church.
that's what you saw.
But when you get outside of church,
Yes.
see, church is a small part of your. How many hours out of all the hours in the week you spend 2 hours in church? But you got to live with that person when you get home.
Yeah.
I know people that are in ministry. They ride in the same car, but they go home and sleep in two separate rooms because they want that persona in church.
Yeah.
And because they love the title, the prestige, and the money that come behind it, they put on this for the church.
Yeah.
But when they go home, and see, when it comes down to marriage, the two shall become one. Until you die, you always become it.
Yeah.
When you get with someone, you have to love who they are, who they may become, and who they may never be. Because they might not never live up to your expectations. If you can't love someone for those three things, you're not going to make it. Because who they are today is one thing, but who they may become, can you handle it? So say like someone that as time grows, their conviction grows about certain things. And then you have a problem with that because when we first got married, you didn't have a problem with me smoking cigarettes. But now, because you at a certain place, so these things happen. And then say like now I'm gonna say that one of the best marriages, one of the best marriages I ever saw wasn't even between two believers. is in between a woman who's a pastor and her husband is a Muslim. She wasn't always a pastor, but her husband was always Muslim when they got married. She was never a Muslim, but her husband. She got saved, and she has a church. Her husband goes and does anything for that church. Clean, maintenance, everything. And he allows her to be her. But she knows when I go home, when I'm in here, I'm pastor. So she run everything. But she know when she go home, I'm wife and I'm his wife. Even for me, I'd rather keep the church out of my business, even when I'm married. When I got married, I told the church, matter of fact, I told them this when I proposed at the church. I told my church that day, let's get this straight. She's not y'all first lady. She's my wife. She ain't none of y'all business. I take care of y'all. She take care of me. She gonna stay in her place. Y'all.
How hard was that?
It was easy because I draw those boundaries in the beginning. And she would go to church with me and support things, but she supported a lot of stuff behind the scenes. A lot of times we get married and we force somebody to be something, then that's what the problem is.
Yeah.
We force somebody to be a first lady when she's just a sister. Let her be a good sister. And even if she's not a sister, allow her to be a good. And like I said earlier, it says the two shall. So just because you take vows in front of people don't mean you are. Because the two shall become. So it is a process. And some days I had an aunt and her and her husband were in ministry. And I asked my aunt one day, I said, how you stay with Uncle that long? She said, some mornings I look over at him and say, Lord, what I done did? She said, but by the time I go downstairs and have my piece of tea, my piece of toast and my tea, I'm all right. She said, some days you're not going to like each other. Some days you're not going to be able to get along. But we think that love is a feeling. Feelings fade, feelings change. Love is a choice.
Yeah, what you got to ask?
I'm listening. I was going to ask you when you finish.
I know, because I got a lot of questions.
Yeah,
Not that about you, about me, just about if everybody took that road of we're just becoming, then there should be no divorces, right? If 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 I took that mentality, so evidently I can't wait till you become. Like that's the reason why I'm moving on.
well, some people get into marriages for different reasons, and people get out of them. Some, so I can't speak for everybody.
I
I
got married for a green card.
I did not. I know somebody that did, but
You know,
no.
people.
To me, now for me, I didn't get into a marriage for it to end. That was never my goal. Um, I wasn't perfect. I didn't do everything right. I still don't do everything. But for me, how could I do this? The way I am now, sometimes I say to myself, I got one last good relationship in me.
Okay, Okay, this raw, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You said this a couple times. I just want to make sure I got this right. What is that? I don't do everything right. What that is that?
I'm not perfect. I get angry. When I get angry, I might say something wrong.
Oh,
That's whether it's at home, at church, or even on the job. So I'm not.
but you're not the type that because I'm angry and I'm gonna go out and cheat.
No.
Okay, because see,
I'm.
people
I'm
when they say they do
if-
something wrong, you be surprised
if
people
if
wrong
if I'm if I'm with a person, I'm with
you
now.
with them.
Now I done had my days of the streets. I done had my days of the streets, and even I went through certain things in my first marriage that I said I'll never go through again. So in my first marriage,
Were you young?
now I was 25 when I got married, but I caught her doing certain things, and then I said, "This is the way you want to live. I can show you better than everything."
You was a pastor?
I wasn't preaching.
Okay.
I was a church goer,
Yes,
but
you-
I
okay,
wasn't
cool.
preaching, wasn't a pastor.
Uh-huh.
So when I found out she was cheating, well, this you want to do? Let me show you how to do this. And I had the mentality: you drew first blood. You can't tell me nothing about it. So we both was doing stuff. So when I got into ministry, I went there. After I got into ministry, she was still running and doing stuff. And I said, if we're gonna stay together, you gotta stop this. She said that she would. And I remember for a while I didn't sing anymore. I didn't want to sing because throughout the years she messed with different people in different gospel groups. And I got to see these people at programs. I never forget going back to Bishop one day. I'm trying to make the marriage, but you keep running the street. And I remember going to Bishop. Matter of fact, I remember the day. It was the day that the Williams brothers made. We did that project with family, Philadelphia artists working together, down on Cecil B. Moore. And we were in the church that day. In that service, I saw a couple of people that I know that she messed with throughout the year. And I say that this is how many I know about. How many is it really? And I went back to we were in Feast of Pentecost. I went back to church that afternoon. I told Bishop, I said, I don't want to sing no more, and I'm getting a divorce. I said, Bishop said, no, you can't do that. I said, because I'm going to go to jail from the church. I said, because I'm going to wind up killing. Because it's a hard thing when people that you know running behind your back and they smiling at you. That was a hard thing for me to deal with. So when I got married again,
How long in between?
3 years in between, 4 years in between. When I got married again, my mindset was, I ain't cheating, you ain't cheating. Let's get this off the table in the beginning. We had issues, but it was never cheating. So I made up my mind that this is who I'm with, this is who I'm going to be. And people could take it. I mean, they could dish it, but they can't take it. They could dish it, but they can't take it. You keep feeding somebody a plate of crap. I hope you like the taste of crap, because one day that plate gonna be for you. You got
So your second marriage was over the same thing?
no,
Oh.
just us over time, different things, miscommunication, and then you can make somebody be with you that don't want to be with you. And I remember being in church, and I'm like, man, this is another we separated again. I'm separated again from that. And I remember going to one of my church mothers. She passed away recently. Mother Annabelle Pender. I went over her house, and I said, Mother Pender was about to die. And she called me and asked me to come see. And I said, Mother, well, you know, me and such, we're not together. She said, okay. I said, well, you know how the church feel about divorce and remarriage? She said, are you okay with it? I said, yeah. She said, as long as you at peace with it, you can't worry about what other people do. She said, because if you stay, they're going to talk about it. If you leave, they're going to talk about it. She said, but you got to be at peace with it. And then she said, do you think we serve a God that will want you to stay in a place where you ain't wanted? I said, no. She said, well, I don't serve that God either. She said, so you have to do what you have to do.
Now, this is over a period of time where you met and you're in love. And
Yeah,
then you, then you, then,
we
then
would,
what happens,
we-
like in talking to people, what happens that you no longer want to be with me, or I don't longer, what,
you,
what
I
is
don't,
that?
for different people, they have their reasons. If it was up to me, I would have rather for things to work out. But when I'm not going to stay someplace where I'm not wanted to be in the
I
street.
I'm just trying to get to a point, see, when do it turn for people?
Because we were together for 3 years, married for 10.
And then you
The
just don't,
second one.
Second one.
then you just don't want to be together. Then
Yeah.
they
So
just, oh, wow.
so she said I don't. She said I don't want this no. And then see, women weaponize stuff. Get out, withholding sex, and weaponize it. So then when you're ready to leave, hey, you ain't gotta sleep in the basement. You want to sleep in the bed now. So it's a people weaponize stuff and do stuff. And one day I told her, I said, one day you're gonna tell me to get out, and I'm gonna listen. She would always say, get out, get out. Okay. One day you're gonna say it, and I'm gonna listen.
And let me ask this: was it your place or
It
her
was both
place?
of ours.
Okay.
Both ours.
So what, like you were being put out somebody
No,
else's? Okay.
no, both the house. We purchased the house,
Okay.
had the house in both our names.
Because I was accused of that from your friend. Like when we go through an argument, I say, "Get out! Yeah,
But you see,
this your sister house." So you could say, "No, it wasn't that. I was just mad. It
right.
wasn't about the house." So some people, because of, I think it's good to get something together because when there's somebody coming into
No, but
somebody's place,
sometimes the things should be. Um, one thing we have to learn to do, whether it's at work, at home, in any relationship, brothers and sisters, family, we have to learn to fight fair. So you can fight,
yeah,
but you don't have to fight dirty.
dirty,
You
right?
don't have to talk about things that some people. Um, some people when they fight, they have to. Their mentality is, I have to draw blood.
We'll put the juggler,
Or
Yeah.
hit below the belt.
Yeah, or have to hit below the belt. But you can fight and say what you need to say and say it fair. Even if you say it loud and angrily, but it should be something that's fair. Because some things you can never take back. And that if you say certain things to a person, that's always going to be in the back of their mind. 20 years later. Um, the preacher told me one time, he said, never cheat. He said, because he said, I used to cheat when I wasn't saved. He said, I got saved, my wife got saved. He said, I never cheated after. He said, but now, he said, we married 50 something years.
back of her mind.
And
Yep.
always brought it back up. So certain things that you do, you can never take back. And certain things you say, you can't never take back. And then our words create. And sometimes you're going to have what you say.
So this is your counseling method when you counseling. This is by you going through it twice. Is this what you base your counseling off of?
No, I base it on that and practical things and then biblical things. And then even recently, after recently, I had a young lady that I worked with for years, for a few years, and her and I are both chaplains. We were both chaplains down at the Hospital University of Pennsylvania, and she respects me a lot. She called me. She said, Bishop, I have a friend that's getting married, and they want. She said, because I'm their friend, I don't want to counsel. She said, would you do it? I said, I'm going through stuff myself. I don't want to counsel them. And she said, no. She said, she said, I know you, and you have a practical way of doing things. I think you would be the perfect person to talk to them. So at first I kept telling her no, and then I said, well, let me talk to them. And I talked to them. I told them a little bit of my story and why I was hesitant. And they said, no, we would like for you to do.
So from the first to the second, did you have a non-tolerant?
No,
So-
because I'm a person that, I don't know. For me, I'm a relationship person, and
So you love hard, you
I love
give
hard. I give hard, and that could be my downfall. And um, but one thing I've learned is to say what I mean and mean what I say. I try to, although I'm a person that I don't like conflict. So a lot of times I hold back how I feel and just let stuff ride. And that's one of my biggest issues. I let a lot of stuff ride.
So where did that come from? Is that your childhood? Is that something that's just John?
That's just me. In relationships, I let stuff ride until
no return.
till I get fed up. But I'm trying to do better where I say how I feel. Years ago, years ago, I used to manage Rite Aid, and I wasn't. Yeah, years ago, I used to manage Rite Aid. This young lady came in and she used to walk. I used to manage Rite Aid, and this young lady would come in the store every day. I would look at her, and she'd look at me, and one day she just walked up to me and she said, "Well, what do you want from me?" I said, "Excuse me." She said, "What do you want? You want a relationship? You want a friendship? You want to just go out? What do you want from me?" She said, "Because I could accommodate them all,
Oh,
but
wow.
you have to tell me where you coming from." And that was one thing always taught me: tell people up front. I don't. To me, being with multiple people is too much work. If you can barely deal with one person and their stuff, and if you're dealing with multiple people, you got to remember a whole bunch of stuff and remember every lie you told. So running the streets is work, and when you get it's not work that I'm willing to put in. So that's just me. I'm a one person person.
So were you healed?
No, I we we're never truly all the way healed because some stuff we don't know is still there until it's triggered. It could be stuff from our childhood
That's why I asked you.
that come up and you thought that you were okay, or some stuff you never knew was there. But it's not the fact that it comes up, it's how you deal with it when it comes. And then can they can they deal with you? Some people love to deal with Bishop, but dealing with Bishop and dealing with John, two different things.
My brother told me one day, because my husband was a drinker. He said, if you take away the alcohol, can you deal with the man? Because the man with the alcohol was one way, uh, hiding. The alcohol was his covering.
Mhm.
Can you deal with this stuff that he's mentally or whatever going through that he's using
Mm.
that alcohol to camouflage? So if you know, I never had no counseling
Okay.
because my marriage was the same way. Uh, my mother asked him to marry me because of pregnancy.
Mhm.
So when we were real young, had no idea how to be a wife, how to be a mother. He was from the street, and that's a different mentality
Mhm.
because I was a church girl.
Right.
So I wasn't privy to the mind of a man.
Mhm.
So it took years. So that's why I asked about being healed, because if you're not, uh, you're gonna repeat.
Right. But like I said, there was some things that are in us, we don't realize they're there until they're triggered. So, and when that's where it come into that becoming.
Mhm.
Because even with salvation, I believe that you accept the Lord Jesus as your Savior, you're saved, but yet you're being saved.
That's right. Right.
And
Right.
and some stuff you might not know is there until something.
Hmm.
But it's not the fact that it's there, it's how you deal with it. And then it's as if like the enemy, sometimes he can't, if he can't deal with you where you at now, he'll go poke at something in you that happened years ago. So he can't deal with the girl at this age, but he'll go back to 12 years old where something happened, poke you there to get a reaction out of you from this point of view, although it happened way back there. So we got to be, even sometimes learning, even in conflict, when you go through conflict, to be wise that this could just be the enemy. And the enemy could be the enter me.
Yes.
So that's the real enemy. Because I've had stuff that happened to me that I'm still trying to process and deal with. So from childhood, and that's why I say, and I said it Sunday. Yes, I believe in prayer, but I also believe in therapy. I also believe if you need it, medication. But that don't take away from prayer. But um, and this is another thing that some people say is controversial when I say it. Nothing happens in the earth realm unless a man does it. God gave man dominion over it, never took it back. So anything that happened in the earth realm, whether it's good or bad, has to happen through a man. So we have to realize that there's consequences to the stuff we do. And some of the stuff that we go through is because of what we say, because you're gonna have what you say. You calling your mate stupid, then you wonder why they act stupid. You spoke that over them. Or we call our children certain names, and then we wonder why they, because you said that, you put that to that. So I try to be careful of what I say, how I say, because I realize my words have power.
That's right.
So do you have power and strength to walk away? You said, and she said too, you got to be careful what you say in the heat of the moment. But if you're triggered at that moment,
You
do
know,
you have the strength to
not all,
say, let me walk before I say something? Because most of the time
not
it's up
not
on you and
not
you
not
done.
all the time. But see,
Okay.
that's the thing. Sometimes we show more restraint at work than we do at home.
So what is,
Like you'll watch what you say to your coworker, but won't watch what you say to your spouse. Now that's bad. That's crazy.
so, but why is that?
Because
Because you
they're
won't say that to your boss.
right.
Because
Because
you're going to get fired.
you get fired.
Right.
And if you could, if you feel like I can say what I want to say, no, you can say what you want to say, but there's going to be consequences to what you say.
But what make you do it and you know it? It's gonna be like, why
Pe-
don't you have that constraint to do that?
people are going to be people,
Oh,
and you're still in you. No matter how saved you are, no matter how holy you are, you still in your body is still flesh. So your body and your emotions are going to do certain things. And those things come out of feelings. That's why we can't be led by feelings. We got to be led by the spirit. But you're not going to be in the spirit all the time. If you in the spirit all the time, something wrong with you. That's why I'm leery about people walking around you just speaking in tongues all day. Ain't that much Holy Ghost in the world. You're in your body. You're not going to be perfect. And I'm not saying that to condone. Well, I did that because I'm in my body. No, sometimes you're going to do things, and sometimes you got to go say sorry and repent for what you did.
So You said a little while ago that you told your wife that one day you're gonna say this to me, and I'm gonna do it.
Mhm.
So, were you of the mindset that you wasn't going to do certain things no more?
No,
Like,
I,
did you have the did you didn't have the energy
no,
to fight?
no, I still did my obligations in the house. But you keep telling me to get out. One day I'm gonna leave. And when I got tired, okay, this what you want, I'm gonna give it to you. And some people ask for stuff that they don't really want. Sometimes when you give people what they want, that's when you're gonna see the true them. And sometimes you got to give people what they ask for.
Even though you don't know they don't mean it.
Yeah, you got to, even like with your children. Sometimes you got to give them what they ask for. Then they have to live with the consequences of what they ask for.
So nobody tried to reconcile with you.
Yeah. But once you get to a certain place and stage, hey, I'm I'm good. I'm good. And like I said, I I ain't got nothing bad to say about nobody. We had some good times, went on some great trips, great vacations, ate at some of the best restaurants. I ain't got nothing bad to say. You live your life, I'm gonna live mine. God bless
That's good when everybody can walk away, but knowing that everything wasn't bad.
you. Yeah, everything wasn't bad, but
wasn't
when I'm done, I'm
you
done.
done.
Only time I look back is to wipe my tail.
So, okay, this off the record. Are you bishop or pastor?
Bishop.
Why you tell me? Why you didn't tell me that? I've been calling him. I didn't know. I just heard something he
But
said just a while ago to make me think he was a bit. All the time I'll call you. I didn't
no,
know he was a.
that's fine. That's fine.
So when did you become a bishop? When did you become a bishop?
Jesus.
You've probably been a bishop for a while, right?
Ever since my bishop died in 2009.
Oh my
So
God.
probably around 2010 when I took over the
Are you
fellowship.
serious?
Yeah, so probably like 2000.
But I never. I always call him pastor. Pastor.
Well,
But
I always know the bishop.
You already know. I never knew. I
Yeah,
never knew he
yeah.
was a bishop.
Bishop died in 2009. I took over the fellowship in 2000.
Well, forgive me for
No,
that.
that
Because
I
I just heard something you said again. I was like,
I'm
this
not
is
I'm
bishop.
not stuck on titles.
It's not. It's not even about that. That's why we're doing half of these shows now. Because I've been around people a long time. I have no clue.
And
I don't even know them.
even
Like,
with me, like
did you know I was a missionary?
no.
Oh,
See,
see,
they call
I ain't
me
stuck on titles either.
bishop
Get over here.
because I have a problem with that too. Because for me, a bishop, they call me bishop because I my fellowship and I oversee church. But you got a lot of people don't have, they're not overseeing anything, but they still use the title.
Yeah,
So
but I heard them call you bishop. I thought it was like the grandpa statement. You know,
okay,
people call you because you act older.
okay,
I didn't really know you were.
yeah,
Yeah, I hear people. What's up, bishop? But I'm thinking it's a title to
yeah.
endearment. Like I had no
Yeah,
clue.
like on my, like I said, on my
Oh
job,
God.
I'm a chaplain,
It's chat.
and some of the
Okay.
people they when I first started, they came to me and said, "What should I call you?" And some people, I tell everybody, I said, "Just call me John." And some people call me John, and then some people say, "I don't feel comfortable calling you." So I say, "Call me chaplain," or but I have some people on my job that call me bishop.
But
That
they do know you are.
yes, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
point
I
I'm
have
trying to make.
some
Okay.
people that call me bishop. Some people call me Chat.
Okay.
Yeah, that's they wanted to call me JC. I said no, there's only one Jesus Christ.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When I first started, they're like, we gotta. When I first started, they said we gotta find a nickname for you. But now, one of the Muslim sisters at my job, and when I have questions about anything Islam, I go to her. She's the one. She started calling me, "Hey, Chat." So now a lot of people, when they see me, hey, Jack.
So you say you have 2 children.
Yeah.
What's the ages?
John Jr. is 30 and Alicia
Oh,
is
God.
36.
Yeah, you know his children?
I know of them because
I think I'm in another world. Okay.
when we were traveling with them.
Little
Yeah,
John
yeah,
would go
yeah.
sometimes.
Okay, I probably saw him, but didn't know that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's 30 now.
30. Wow. Okay. So, for those who are watching, and they want to know. This ain't a question for me. This is a question from them. Are you engaged or involved now?
Well, I have a friend, but there's nothing. I have a friend.
You're always putting stuff in the comments for me to say, act like it's from me. Okay. Well, most time when we have young guys or younger, people always ask me questions. It's good to know because some people they don't care.
Yeah, I have someone that I met. Um, the crazy part is I've known her family for years, but never met her.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
then
She shout.
no, she don't shout.
Okay.
I stay away from the girls that shout. After a while,
we just think. I'm just thinking. I remember you told me that story. Oh
Now,
my God.
at one time, after dating church women, honestly, I said I'd rather date a stripper because at least I know what you want.
Let me ask you something about that. No, really. Being a bishop, being a church person, is that your preference to meet a church person, or do you mind dating
No,
and getting
a person, because every let me say this. Now, this is what I believe. Marriage is not a. People try to make marriage spiritual between a man and a woman.
Mhm.
It to me is good if you have someone that can feed your spirit. It is important that I want someone I could pray with, that could pray for me, pray with me. Um, m- Marriage is for the earth realm, and marriage is for your physical needs. You are responsible for your spiritual needs. Mainly, it's good if someone can help you with that. So marriage is for the earth realm and it's for your flesh. Because
the married in the burn.
right, marriage is for your flesh. That's why when we get to heaven, we ain't gonna be no marriage, ain't gonna be no giving, no taking in marriage. And when you get there, everybody gonna be brothers and sisters. Because if y'all two jokers argue for 30 years down here, what make you think God wants that up?
Ain't that something, right?
So to me, marriage is for your physical and emotional needs. Adam named every Adam. And, hey, all of them got two, and it's just me. So in the church, we try to make it into something that I think is not meant to be, and that's where it becomes dangerous. And just like people talk about equally yoked. Equally yoked don't mean, hey, you like blue, I like blue. Equally yoked is more of we tied together with the yoke of marriage, and we pulling together. And they tell a story about how they would put a younger ox with an older ox. They put the younger ox because he was faster. They put the older ox because he was bigger and stronger, but they were in the same yoke. So in certain areas where one couldn't pull, the other one could. And that's how it is in marriage. And that's where it go back to uh, what someone do for you today, they might not be able to do 20 years from now, 10 years from now. Might not be able to do it. They might have an accident, might not be able to do it
So
tomorrow.
that's why they say those vows.
Yeah.
Okay, so both of y'all ministers, I'm going to ask this question, and I've been asking her for a long time. She's going to tell me about a black book. So where did the vows come from? Who made those vows, and what black book? Who wrote that black book?
Black book was written by man, but marriage.
I'm not being funny
No.
because somebody say for better for worse, and like you just said, 10 years from now you might be in the accident. It is worse, but you made this vow all the way up here, and you don't know what you're gonna face. So,
And another thing people used to tell me, you made that vow to the Lord. No, you made the vows to each other in the presence of the Lord. When you make your wedding vows, you make them to each other. in the presence of the Lord. You ain't making that. You're making that vow before God to each other, but you ain't making that vow
So
to
who
God.
wrote it, Peter or Paul?
No, none of them wrote that.
Okay.
And let's get this straight. The only two people God ever put together was Adam and Eve. Everybody else after that was on their own,
They made their choice.
made their choice. So you choose. He that findeth a wife, he findeth a good thing.
Mhm.
Just because you married him or you hook up with him, that don't make him that don't mean that was a wife. It said he that findeth a wife. It didn't say girlfriend. It didn't say sneaky link. But you try to make your sneaky link into a wife.
Okay.
So he that findeth, if she wasn't a wife, if she wasn't wife material, and you try to make he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. So God ain't putting nobody two together. God ain't putting nobody. You make a choice, and then God could bless that. But if it wasn't
But doesn't the word say that?
what
He who God puts together, let no man
he who God joins together,
joins
let
together.
no man put us. It says that, but that ain't talking about marriage. And like I said, the only two people he ever put together was Adam and Eve. After that, a man and woman makes that decision. Just like another people, we take on things because we read it, but we read it out of context. Like people say, I was born in sin. No, people say we all were born in sin. No, every man or woman has a sin nature, but that don't mean we all were born in sin. David didn't say we all were born in sin. He said, I was born in sin, and I was shaped in iniquity. He didn't say everybody. And the reason why they say, the scholars say he said that because David was born out of wedlock. So that's why he said, I was born in sin. All men have a sin nature, but to be born in sin was because David was born out of wedlock. But we take things and we take it out of context and then we run with it. And then a lot of times we need to learn so much, and I know the church is going to get mad. So much is lost in the King James translation. And they got to realize King James is just a translation. It's a translation. It ain't the translation. It's a translation, but so much is lost in the King James translation. And that's why you don't have to be a Bible scholar. But if we learn these words in there, that's why most time when I'm looking through the Bible, I got to go in the concordance and see because what it meant in this verse and what it meant in this verse could be two
Absolutely.
different things. And you go back and it show it to you in the Greek and the Hebrew, and it show you what the original meaning of it means. But if we just read it and take it for that, like the preacher used to say, they talking about Jesus, and they say he had a fan in his hand. Old preacher said, Holy Ghost was so hot, Jesus had a fan in his hand. But when you go back and look up that fan, it wasn't talking about a fan you fan with, it was a tool like a pitchfork. And that was to separate. So we take so many things literally.
And that's why we don't have the result
Mhm.
because we don't
You
understand.
don't understand it.
When you understand, he said you're gonna be converted and I'm gonna heal. But if you got the wrong understanding
Mhm.
of it, then you can't.
And our forefathers taught us all they know, but it's up to us to learn. And that's one thing I loved about my late bishop. He only had a third grade education, but that man knew the Bible, knew the book, and not only knew the book, he knew dispensational truth and all types of things that people are teaching now. But back when he was teaching it, they wouldn't grab it, hold all that stuff.
Right.
But like I said, then sometimes God give you a different understanding of something. And him and I, one thing I love, uh, he wasn't so stuck on what he believed. If you could show him something different, he would switch. Our church worship on the first day, which is Sunday. Years. Bishop had a thing, if we in Bible study or he preaching, and you want to know something, stop him. He don't care if he preaching. Raise your hand. Because he wants you to have understanding. We were in Bible study, and we were reading. He said, we're going to start in the beginning. We read Genesis 1, got to Genesis 2. I said, Bishop, you told us that the Sabbath was under the law. And we don't keep the Sabbath because it's under the law. But here in Genesis 2, this is before the law and God himself keeping it. Bishop said, huh? He said, say that again. I said it again. He read the scripture again. He just kept shaking his head. He said, he told one of the mothers, he said, you teach Bible study. He said, John, come on upstairs in my office. And he sat behind his desk and he just kept reading Genesis 2 and 2 over and over. I never thought. So then we went to Dr. Edward Young over in Camden. They were already keeping the Sabbath. Bishop, we would go over there every week for a Bible study. Dr. Young would teach us about the Sabbath. And then I told a young man that I was working with, he said, oh, you got to talk to my rabbi. And we studied and studied and studied. And Bishop said, you know, after studying the Bible and studying other books, I cannot see nowhere where they changed the Sabbath to the first day of the biblical. He said, you know what? As of this date, he said, you can worship every day. He said, but let's keep the day given. He said, as of this date, we're going back to the Sabbath. And he went to the church and said, I was in error. He said, I never saw that. And our church started worshiping the Sabbath. Then there was other things like one time he said, we had a whole debate about wearing pants. Our church, women didn't wear pants. And I said, Bishop, that says nothing pertaining to a man. But if it's made for a woman, how is that pertaining to a man? I said, y'all just want to say that about pants. But a woman blouse button up on the opposite side. A woman pants are made. I said, Bishop, you ever see a female cop? She got all that space in the back of her pants. I said, you know why? They men pants. But if she gets some female pants, they'll put more material in the seat for her. He said, I never thought. I said, like your wife has a hat, you have a hat. They're distinct. So if it's made for a woman, it's not pertaining to a man. So the next week, Bishop come down, he tell the church, he said, the Bible don't say it. He said, but as for me, as the pastor here, I'm not saying you can't wear pants. He said, I just don't want to see the women in here wear pants. He said, and that's not biblical. That's my rule. That's no, he said, that's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
He said, but I can't make you not wear pants. He said, but for me, I don't want to see women wear pants.
Well, Gil, I think we're gonna have to have a part two. If he agreed to come back. If he agreed,
You need a Bible class offline.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he agreed to come back, we need a Bible class.
We can do that.
So much.
He's one of them like Paul that not debate but reason.
But I told you that's how I met him in Butter, and that was it.
I love it. It's not. I'm not saying anything.
No, but Butter, that's another thing. Butter knew that. Butter taught me so much. In the first time I ever, Butter used to live with Jimmy Williams, which is we call him Uncle Jimmy, one of the older one of the original Williams brothers. Butter used to stay with Uncle Jimmy, and once a week I would go over to their house, and we would have Bible study in the dining room with Miss Alberta, Uncle Jimmy, Butter, and myself. And that's where I learned about Melchizedek and all different types. And that stuff I still remember to this day. But we can have Butter and I used to have some good deep talks about it.
He tried to do that with me. I think I was just too much of a sinner for him to even try to explain. But he was deep. No, I really appreciate it because he let me. If you open minded,
Mhm.
because if you was raised a certain way, sometimes you steeped in that.
Right.
But I'm thanking God that I wasn't
Right.
because I really
And
I
that's
learned a lot from
even
him.
with being a mate, someone that's open, and both of you have to be open and willing to change, to grow, to understand. Because if you're still the same person 20 years later, 10 years later, that's where I think that's a problem. And like I said, that becoming, because even when you might not be able to agree on everything in the beginning, but after a while you say, they did change this and they did change the way they do, which means that, hey, they hear you. And the worst thing I think for a man to feel is I ain't being heard.
So John, she got to go to Bible class tonight. I don't want to, but I want to ask this last question for me. Then I'll let her have her last question.
Okay.
So, again, you better not, don't laugh because this is my turn. Did Butter think I was hard headed?
He never said that to me.
Okay, all right. I want to know that because you don't have to face him now. So, but
No,
I want you to tell the
He
truth
never said that to me.
because I was gonna go do something.
No.
I'm just,
No, he never.
I've always got to end something.
No, he never. Oh, you want to know how I got my nickname?
Yes. What is it?
It's Boonda. Boondia.
Did you know that? What you call him, Gil?
Like Boonta.
Boonta.
No, why?
Everybody.
That's the way a lot of them say it, but it's Boonda. Boondi.
Oh my
I
God. So
think
where it come from?
I think my aunt, one of my aunts, gave me that name, and that it stuck with me. Most people, even like one of my neighbors, we used to go sing at her church, and Miss Rosalie would get up there and say that. They said, "Oh, I shouldn't be calling you that." Now, oh, anybody. I had people that I didn't like for my wife to call. I said, "You never knew me as that. You know me as John." She would try to say that after she heard other people. No, you know me as John. You call me John. Now, my nieces and nephews, they still call me Uncle Boo.
Oh, they put an uncle on.
Yeah, but my mom, she tries. My mom makes an effort to say John. Um, and most of my aunts, they make an effort to say John. But my
You
nieces,
didn't like the name?
no, I like the name. I
Oh.
still like the name. Name I had my whole life. So like some of the William Brothers Jr. they call me JB, John Boonda, or that's the way they'll say it. But
Go ahead and call you by your whole name.
Mm.
John Cooper.
yeah,
I was like, okay, last name no, but yeah. So but Tisha's the one that I hear always.
yeah. Tisha will call me that, but a lot of them say it wrong. They'll say Boonda,
Yeah, they said
but
that's
it's Boondi, Boonda.
Gil, you got any final words for you, brother?
No, Ashley, this has been great. And I got to go look up something you said, though. But it's
I bet you I know what part it is.
what
To what God put it together and let no man put it asunder. That
that one. It was something else.
something. Yeah,
he-
is it lightning?
Yeah. So you gotta. It. I like for somebody to hook me to go.
My late bishop would always, when someone's preaching, my bishop would always be flipping through his Bible. One day we asked him, we said, "Bishop, why are you looking through your Bible? Why the preacher preaching?" He said, "Either you ain't saying nothing and I'm looking somewhere else." He said, "Or you said something that made me look somewhere else."
Yeah.
So a good talk will make you go look.
Yeah.
You remember what you got in the book?
That one was one. Only God only put together
It,
Adam and Eve.
yeah, show me in the Bible where God told anybody after Adam and Eve this is it. Or put anybody. That's the only two people you put there. After that, you on your own.
And that's what you said. You're on your own,
Yeah.
and it's your
It's your decision,
choice.
your choice.
So that makes me why people say uh, that ain't your husband, that ain't your wife. If I got a choice,
God gonna honor it because you chose it.
I hear that part. But if you say he never put no other couple together, then why would people say that?
Because people are ignorant. And people only know what they know. And then even after that, Adam had to claim her. She's flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone,
He said out of his
out of his mouth.
And
And
then you said, just lost it. How can two walk together?
an agreement don't mean we always going to agree, but you got to learn how to disagree properly. Because something, if your mate say something to you, whether it's male or female, you might not understand why they telling you that. Then 10 years later, you say, "Oh, that's why you was saying." So sometimes you're not going to agree because you, and it's okay to disagree, but disagree healthily. Help.
Was you talking about the equal yoke? You understood that one?
I understood that. But I'm gonna look back over it.
Okay.
It was something, but it's freeing of the mind, especially that one thing. It's your choice.
Yeah, you choose who you want to be with, and that's another thing. Just like you have a right to say yes, you have a right to say no. And I'm talking about in the beginning, like somebody, I remember one time at our church, this young lady was dating this young man, and he got up in church and proposed in front of the whole church. She said no, and everybody said, "Oh Lord," I mean, they were upset. She said, "No, not the one for me." But the bishop said, "Well, if he's not the one for you, why y'all wasting each other's time?" And that's another thing. Some people just want a place filler while they look while they, somebody to fill a spot while they still looking. For me, when I meet someone, I know from the beginning what I can look at someone and say, is this somebody I want a relationship with?
Was it Isaac that sent the people look for this, or was Abraham? Abraham sent
Servant. Look for
the
wife.
servants to look for a wife because he said he needed a mother. His mother had died,
Mhm.
and he said so. It he was choosing for a reason.
Right. But
Like
even
it, like I mean, it still was his God's choice. But I'm just saying he wasn't looking for no like if, like these arranged marriages. If you ain't got no feelings for the person, but somebody
but
arranged it.
let me tell you something about that. Uh, Whether your marriage is I watched the show, and it's one of my favorite shows, Married at First Sight, where they just take two people and they put them together. And I found out by watching this show that whether you're together, whether you just met someone or you're together for years, you're all going to go through the same stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just how you go through it.
Yep.
And some people go on these shows, but they haven't done the work to be ready for a relationship and they don't make it. But on this show, Married at First Sight, they got couples still from the first season that are still together, that are striving, have children. Not that they don't go through ups and downs, but whether your marriage is arranged or you meet somebody, you're going to go through the same thing, ups and downs, learning curves, learning one another, um, learning what you like, what you don't like. But like I say, it's all about being honest and saying, "Hey, when you do this, you make me feel this way." And if they don't respect that, hey, move on. But having those hard conversations, a lot of times, like I said, my biggest downfall was not wanting to have conversations. I just they'll change, it'll change, but inside you burning up because you didn't say nothing. So just say something. And then sometimes if you go to the person, they'll be like, "Why you didn't tell me that 2 years ago?"
You changed now?
Yeah, I've changed a lot. Certain things I don't always do it, but I try to. And then another thing, I'm learning to pick my battle. Some stuff ain't worth arguing over, but some you got to pick your battles because some stuff that's a little thing, but stuff that really bother you or you think is going to affect you in the long run, yes, say it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking to Bishop, not Pastor, Bishop John Cooper. It's been a great evening for us. I can say it because I've always keep my mind open for learning, but you always have intrigued when I heard you on Butter Talking, doing Bible class. So I always knew something was deep. But I appreciate this conversation. Gil, I'm gonna let you have the last say.
No, I'm gonna say something. You always ask, who put the rules? But listening to him tonight, I don't know where the rules come from, but because we were created from a creator, we do have a choice. And he said about we supposed to rule, we supposed to have dominion. So it goes pretty much back to 12th chapter Romans, second verse. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. He also say how we pick out scriptures, but we talk out of context, and because a lot of things fell in the translation. And so tonight I understand what we came out of the church, the new creation. But tonight I understand why a new creature. And you gotta go through the transfer. Major, I found out what I want to say. He said, David said that he was born in sin
And shit.
and shaping. And he also said David was born out of wedlock.
Right. So that's why he said that. But like I said, we all have a sin nature, but we weren't born in sin, shape, and iniquity. The
I didn't
sin
know
was
that.
that he was born out of wedlock. But one last thing, you just talk about dominion. When God created every animal first, right? Those animals ate, drank. So when the animal eat and drink, naturally gonna take care of his business. It took care of his business on the ground. God took that same ground those animals took care of their business on and treaded on, formed man out of that ground, and then gave him dominion over what just took care of his business on and treaded. We don't know our power, and we don't use half of our power. And power ain't just speaking in tongues.
It's not. It's really not. It's sickness. It's really not.
Well,
To do all that and don't have the power
Right.
that you
Well, the
possess.
problem is most of these churches now they don't live for the word; they live for praise break.
Yeah.
Um, I never considered myself a great preacher. I walk the floor and talk a little bit. As a preacher, if all you could do on Sunday is bring people in your building, collect their money, and give them a good feeling, you're no different than the drug dealer on the corner because all he's doing is taking their money and giving them a good feeling. And you got to give them some substance, substance.
Something sick.
And if all you can give them is oh, we had church. What did he preach? I don't know, but I shouted. And we so tied into the emotion of the shout what did you get for your spirit, or what did you get that you could go off until next week or till the next time you meet? And the churches is really doing a great disservice. With, uh, I love a good shout. I love good shout music. I love a good bump, but the people need more.
You shout?
Yeah, every now and then. I'm not a shouter all the time, but I do every now and then. I can pick them up and put them down, but and see, then that's another thing. There's a difference between somebody dancing to me, because anybody can dance, but to me, a shout is one of the spirit.
It seems like all of us that came from the age, the era, had the same, you know.
They didn't know much.
Yeah.
What we thought.
Right.
Like we say, they didn't finish third grade, but the spirit.
But they had the spirit.
They
But see,
had
they
something
didn't.
to it.
That's the problem. They had the spirit with no education.
Right.
We got education with no spirit,
Yeah.
and that's what's wrong with the church.
Go back to
And
the
we had
days of
substance.
yay and nay. Yeah.
And they had substance.
I need you to promise me on this podcast for it to be recorded that you will return.
Yeah, I definitely return. I enjoy
I,
it.
I don't think this is over. I know this has been a long time. Probably had to make this out of two sessions, but it was worth every bit of it. And I know I've been asking you ever since. I thought you was tired of me texting, but
No,
no. I know you did.
my
Sometimes I don't like begging people, but
no,
I
it's-
knew there's certain people I want to.
no, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed the forum, and I keep saying y'all got to do that again.
Yeah, we go.
And we do something like that during our um, gathering of saints, where we just put a table in the front of the church, and the bishops or preachers sit on this side, and the congregation, and they just ask questions. Sometimes we ask them to write down the question, and you'd be surprised at what comes up.
Yeah, and people feel safe to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Gil, I don't have nothing else to say because I can keep on going on. But Bishop, we thank you.
Thank you, both.
Appreciate it. And we do have some chicken over there, and want to get a little.
No, I'm good.
You're good?
They
Okay.
fed me at work twice today.
Okay.
That's why I like being a part of the executive team. I get to eat
You
at
get
work.
to eat and everything. Okay. Well, we got them coming from work to come sit down with the two old ladies, and we appreciate John and those of you who haven't heard them sing, haven't heard them preach. Where could they find you at preaching? Do we need to go down to the hospital?
I don't preach out much anymore.
Okay. Well,
I barely like.
you're on Facebook and everything. So those of you who know him, y'all look him up and see where he's at. But he has that William Brother singing style. There's some people who they sit up on someone, but they don't catch it.
Mhm.
We have a guy that played with Dick Humber. He can sound just like Mr. Tucker.
Thank
And every time I hear you sing, you have the William Brother Jr. Even though I know you was part of it, but you have that sound. And sometimes we still need the old way.
Yeah.
She's a stickler for the old town way. So every time I hear you sing, it brings us back to my dad
Yeah.
and those who used to sing. So appreciate that. Gil, I'm getting ready to go.
You say you don't go out no more?
I do. I just don't go everywhere. I'm particular about where I go. So people call me. I turn down dates. I do go out to preach, but I'm not going to waste my time in certain houses. If that makes sense. So, but I'm particular because the type of ministry, I don't preach for the money or to be known, and the type of ministry I have is really of deliverance. So I'm careful about what houses I take. Everybody
So you
can't take
delivers
it.
ministry.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to have another. What we had? Ask the Men Day. Was that the panel he was on? We're gonna get something else together because if you want to hear truth and you just heard he says it delivers. They said if you want to be delivered, that's what we're about. Not just doing things just to be doing it, but you need to come to one of our sessions and be on the other side of the table when he get finished. And then you just grab your tissue, wipe your eye, and just go on, but you'll be delivered, okay? All right, Gil? You're going to be the first one on the other side of the table. Put you on the other side of the table. You need to be delivered. She's in deliverance ministry too. But as we always end our podcast and saying,
Love God, love family, work hard, and be kind.
John, thank you again.
Thank you both. Thank you.